Welcome to Harlem, the Black Mecca, home of the Harlem Renaissance, the world-famous Apollo Theater, Sylvia's Soul Food Restaurant, several hip-hop pioneers, and many generations of black families who, like ours, came north from Trinidad or Suriname, like my father's parents, or the Deep South, like my mother's parents, and everywhere in between to build this great city. Where we sit isn't too far away from where my father and his siblings all grew up, where all the stories of their childhood took place. So much of our history, our family's history, is in these streets and these buildings. While I was raised in the Bay Area in California myself, I still feel a strong connection to this place through them. My father was a proud child of Harlem. He would tell me stories of how he used to run these streets at all hours of the night, shooting pool, dice, or of how my grandfather would blast calypso music in the streets for the summer block parties, of how we saw another son of Harlem, Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson, the notorious gangster, running these streets, walking them like he owned them. Of all the times he himself spoke, from corner to corner, against the Vietnam War, in support of black liberation, or the class struggle. Of all the times he saw the great Malcolm X do the same, from corner to corner, mosque to mosque, including that sad day at the Audubon Ballroom when Brother Malcolm was taken from us before his 40th birthday. I'm pleased to have had 32 years with my father. Born at the height of the Great Depression in 1934, he left me this month after more than 81 years of life, warm in his bed and without pain. We could all be so lucky in that respect. Today we're going to share our memories of my father in an attempt to heal and to balance the pain and the sorrow that we feel with joy, laughter, and love. It's my goal to make sure that we all leave here with a smile on our face from a fond memory of my father or from connections with friends and family in his honor. As we hear memories and testimonies of my father's life, I encourage all of you to draw on the pieces of his life that resonate with you the most and to use them to fuel your own passions, to push yourself to realize your own full potential in all that you do. Whichever way he touched you, touched your life that brought you here today, whichever lesson, fond memory, or thought that you think of in relation to my father, keep that in mind, let it grow, and be nurtured by what you hear today and take it with you into the world. We must not limit ourselves to a view of my father based solely upon his many accomplishments as a social and political activist, because while many of us are impressed with what he did, he had another life that was not included in the obituary but is much more meaningful to us. Kwame was not always debating, although his siblings might disagree with me on that, or running for office, or lecturing, or being interviewed on radio or television. To us, he was not comrade or Trotskyist, or a scientific socialist, as he loved to call himself, but he was a father, an uncle, a brother, a grandfather, a cousin, a friend, great-grandfather even. And it was in these roles that he endeared himself to us and meant the most in our lives. The man who picked my brother Darrell up and comforted him when he fell off his tricycle in Morningside Park down the street from here in 1960 was not a politician. He was our father. The man who carried me in his arms after jumping my bike on a ramp like Evel Knievel or falling out of a tree was the socialist candidate for mayor of New York. He was my father. The man who gave my brother Khalid the courage to face the school bully, and he eventually became the one who bullied the bullies whenever they picked on anyone else. He wasn't a political scholar, but he was our father. The man who lovingly took care of my mother Zakiya when she was well, and even more so during her final days, was not a philosopher. He was a loving and devoted husband. He was not a scientific socialist who mentored and disciplined and helped raise me and Khalid. Kwame was our father first. And for all his friends and brothers, his sisters, nieces, once you value him most, not for what he did to help the world at large, but what he did with you and for you to enhance your life, that you appreciate and will remember the most. These relationships with him would made the man in our eyes. He achieved so much as an international political activist because of the strength of character he possessed, that he showed us as a father, as a husband, and as a brother. If you worked to save the world, but failed to work to cultivate those loving relationships with friends and family, would we have the same appreciation for him? We recognize that Kwame accomplished many things during his life. But as we remember what he has done, we must maintain a balanced view of him, inclusive of his life and his role both in and out of the spotlight. My father told it like as it is, and like him, I must also tell it like it is. Kwame worshipped no God, and neither did he want to be exalted as a god. He taught my brothers and myself to be our own leaders, our own teachers, to think for ourselves, and never to follow any man or any cause blindly. Self-empowerment, self-reliance, and the education of self are the most powerful parts of his legacy that have carried me in life. It's both our honor and our privilege as a family here today to paint an intimate portrait of my father for you all with our thoughts and memories, not just the stories of the fearless social and political activist. That story is very important, however, and I've created a website for that, for archiving those purposes and telling that story at kwamesamburu.com, and I'll speak more about that later. But the focus for today is on what is most precious to his family, and that is Kwame Samburu, the man. Thank you.